Over the past 6 months, I've tested a lot of drivers, and there's been 3 that have really stood out to me, and one of them is going to make its way into my bag. Let's find out what they are. So there's 3 drivers that have stood out to me this year throughout the testing. We've tested the likes of Titleist, Cobra, TaylorMade, Ping, PXG, Callaway, Strixon. There's been loads that we've tested, and 3 of them have really stood out to me. Now, one of them is going to take the place of my Mizuno driver, and to do that I'm going to have a little test at the end of this video where we're going to look at distance and we're going to look at fairways hit. But first, let me talk you through why I'm not getting on with the Mizuno driver, and then why one of these drivers could potentially be going in my bag. So for the first 7 months of the year, I actually was using the Mizuno STX driver. This one being their latest one. There is also the Z model as well. It's the STX 230, and it was the drawers model, or more forgiving model. And it doesn't sort of fit my bracket as to this is for the better player. This was actually aimed more at the mid to higher handicapper, but found when I had a fitting over in Orlando at the start of the year, I was hitting it quite well. And for me, this driver, as I was using it, for it being a draw bias driver, it actually didn't look towed in at all. It sat really nice, and surprisingly, a lot of the Mizuno staff players and the tour players that are using this driver were going into the X model as opposed to going into the Z model. Now, for a long time, I actually was doing all right with this one, and even when I've got it back out now, it actually looks pretty decent. And that's why I had it in my bag there, just a little lemonade, just down the right-hand side. It was a nice driver, very forgiving, I found. Off the toe and the heeled shots, I was tending to get, you know, some good distance out of it. Wasn't seeing that I was shaping the ball loads, and it was going well for me. But just over the last few months, I've just been struggling. After I've had a lesson and been working on my driver, I've just been struggling to get it on the fairway. Just my starting direction. Every time I was picking a target, I just couldn't quite get the ball started on line. It always felt like it started a little bit left of where I wanted it to go. They were struck well. I might have had the fade on them, but it wasn't quite the shot I was hoping for, which then, when I've tested other drivers, has led to me actually putting something different, or potentially different, in the bag. That's still a good drive though, just a little straight one, and that's a good example actually, because I've aimed down the middle and it's just a little pull down the left hand side, and that's potentially because of this being that slightly more draw biased driver. I was getting those slight pulls, and as I was playing my in the reds and things like that, I was just finding I wasn't on as many fairways as I would have liked to have been. But there's been 3 drivers that I've tested throughout the year that have really shocked and surprised me, and one of those is going in my bag. Let's introduce you to the first one. So the first driver that really surprised me was this one. It was the cheaper offering from the PXG lineup of drivers. It's the PXG 0211 model. Now, the reason why this surprised me is because it was the first PX driver that I reviewed, and in my mind I had an understanding that PXG were really expensive. So when this driver was coming in the 200 to 300 category, I thought, is it actually going to be any good? Will it work, or is it just something that they thought, oh, we'll just knock the price down and bang out a cheap driver that people can just get their hands on? But in terms of looks, it looks really nice, a matte sort of finish, a little white detail and the PXG logo on the back and the small X on top. It looks very forgiving. It's got quite a large footprint. It's quite squashed towards the back, quite low to the ground, and then a slightly deepish face. And then even on the bottom of the driver, it looks really nice. So you pull it out of the head cover and you think, oh, actually, yeah, doesn't look too bad. And then when I was hitting this driver, we just clip one away here. It really impressed me. Even that was probably the worst strike I could put on a driver, and it's got up there, it was flighted. I found that it was really forgiving, and it was packing some good numbers in terms of distance as well. So for a driver that's only, like I say, in the £200 to £300 category, I think I had some predetermined thoughts on PXG, but actually this driver, when I got it out, it just did everything I wanted it to. It sounds good, it looks good, it just performs. It's so easy to hit. That's just a lovely drive. It just feels great, sounds good, just little fades, and that really made me question should it be in my bag, because it does everything I want and it's a good driver. It was performing for me. It's a great driver. We have done a full review on all these drivers as well, so do make sure you check out those if you've not seen them. But very understated, very sleek, does what it says on the tin, just gets it out there, gets some distance from it, gets forgiveness, and it's at a cheap price point as well. So that is driver number one that potentially could be going in my bag. The next driver that has really impressed me is the Ping G430 Max. Now originally when I did the reviews on these, I focused a little bit more on the LST model, which had the most changes in the G lineup. The G430, it does have a few little changes. The acoustics have changed, a little bit of the head shape and things that they've got going on in the head have changed from the G425 range. But with the LST model, we saw that there was actually a graphite crown in there now, which we've not seen previously in the Ping models. But the reason these impress me, and the reason why this one could potentially be the one that's going in the bag, is that they just deliver. You know what they're going to look like, the Pings. They always look pretty good. They've got the turbulators, everyone's got used to those now. The sort of large footprint, the forgiving looking head that we have. But then if you just get one off the shelf, and this is one of the things that I recommend to a lot of my friends and my students, is, if you're not going to go for a fitting, if you can't be bothered going through that process and you want a driver just off the shelf that is going to work, just go and buy yourself a Ping, because they just deliver. That's all they do. They just do the same thing over and over again. And even when we are testing these ones, the LST we found actually in my fitting in Orlando wasn't the one for me because of the low spin nature. I actually almost dismissed the G430 because I thought, well, they're not going to be long enough. But actually, having hit a few now and starting to test a little bit and play around with it, I'm finding that I'm still getting good numbers with it. So I do think the Pings are just the most reliable driver that is out there on the market. And I even think I saw something from Golf Digest or My Golf Spy the other day saying that if every golfer got a Ping, they would drive the ball better. And I think for me, with this model, I think it's that forgiveness aspect. When you're not driving it well, it still gets you down there and it still gets you on the fairway. I mean, that one there, a little bit of a necky shot, and it's launched, it's cutting down the fairway, and I'm safely where I need to be. And that is just what impresses me about these drivers. They just deliver. Like I said, if you're not looking for a fitting, if you go and buy, even if it was a G425, the previous models, you could get one off the shelf, and I'm pretty confident that you would have some good driving stats if you had one of these in your bag. And that's why this could be one of the three that is going in the bag for me. And the third and final one that has impressed me has been the Stealth 2, the Plus model that we are using here. The reason that this impressed me was when I tried the original Stealth. I think, as I said in the review of the Stealth 2 that we did when we did the forgiveness test, it took the world by storm when we saw this red face. It was something that we've not seen before, and they just completely blew every other manufacturer out of the water when it came to driver releases last year. But I don't think the hype followed up with actually the performance of that driver, the original Stealth. I found it to be quite unforgiving and quite inconsistent in terms of what you were experiencing in terms of the shots from across the face. When you were getting toe or heels, sometimes they would spin okay, sometimes they wouldn't. And then from the middle, you got some that just, you thought you'd nutted, but then were dropping out of the air. As where, when I tested this one and we did that forgiveness test, it was the total opposite. Again, I went probably into it, trying to be as unbiased as I could be, thinking and taking out the thoughts of what I'd seen in Stealth 1. But there was that little niggling feeling in the back of my mind to say, well, we know what's going to happen here. Is this carbon face really the answer? But actually, upon hitting it, I was totally shocked, because what we saw from those tests that we did and what I've experienced when I have been playing with this club and hitting some more shots at the driving range is, like I said in that video, it's become very, very consistent. And it's actually one that I would never thought would have been in my top 3 that I've tried thus far. And that is what I'm talking about there. Didn't feel my greatest shot, but it's a tiny little fade that is down the fairway and looked like it was going the right appropriate distance. And I think that's what's impressed me about this driver so much, that now knowing that if you do catch it a little bit off centre, you're still actually going to get a decent golf shot. As where before, you just didn't really know what was coming. Was it going to fly well? Was it not? Was it going to get up in the air? Were you going to get some spin? But this model, it looks good. That red face really pops. And now you marry that with actually some consistency with your ball flight and your spin numbers, and you've got some pretty good drives. Even that was a terrible strike. And it's out there. Yes, it's cut down the fairway, but it's not dipping out of the air. And that's what's impressed me so much about this driver. From seeing one iteration to the new iteration, it actually has improved, as where sometimes what we see from manufacturers is it's a new driver, it's very much the same as last year and nothing's really changed or improved. As where I think TaylorMade have done a fantastic job of actually taking something that wasn't working, and they've actually turned it into something that really works. So this is the 3rd driver that could be going in my bag. But now it's time to find out which one will be, and we're going to test it. What I'm going to do, I'm on the 14th hole here at the Duke's course. Nice fairway that you can hit, fairly forgiving. We want to see how many fairways I can hit with each driver, and I want to see the carry number with each driver. That's what's important to me. You know, I want to know it's going long or to the distance that I want to, but I also want to have that forgiveness, that dispersion being tight. So we're going to hit 3 balls with each, see what the average is with the carry, and see how many fairways we hit with both. We're going to go PXG first. All drivers are 9 degrees in loft. They've all got a Ventus TR shaft in, TaylorMade and Pinger in the red, and the PXG is in the blue. Just found that this worked a little bit better with the blue for me when I was testing it. So let's go, 3 balls each. Let's see who's going to be in the bag. First up, the PXG. Just off the fairway. Not very long either. It's a fairway found, but it's not going to be long, I know that. That's a good one. That is a good one. Next up, the TaylorMade. This is going to be interested by this one. Going to be interested. Not a fairway, longer. That's perfect off shot. Fairway found, bouncing down there. I've gone short today, I feel very slow. Last one, we have the ping. It's a fairway found. It's another fairway.
Start it up.
Another fairway. So the driver that is going to be going into my bag is this one, the Ping G430. The reason why it's going in, consistency wise, I hit that the worst I could have hit out of the three, but I found 3 fairways. It was the second longest at 279 yards on average, TaylorMade at 282 with a 1 fairway hit for that one. The PXG hit 2 fairways, but actually was quite lower. It was 270 yards on average, not hitting it my best, which is where I think this comes into play. 3 fairways with poor shots and at a 279 average, I think shows that when I do get it, it's going to be longer and I'll be on the fairway. So I think this driver, as I've said so many times before, if you're looking for something that's forgiving, easy to use and can work for every golfer, the G430, I'd go down that range, or even one of the older models. They're going to work, and that's why it's gone in my bag. Guys, I hope you've liked that video. Remember to check out the other videos that we've done on the reviews for these just here, and we'll see you in another one very soon.